We got to work through this first. Spawning in the top right corner of the map, a man who's a bit down on his luck. We'll see if he can bring it back. It is the Red Protoss, RSVP. And his opponent to the top left. He's yellow, he's Zerg. It is Franscar. I don't know if it's Franscar or Franscar. I'm really sorry. Like, if this guy listens to my VODs, or if you're a fan, I'm sorry for pronouncing the name wrong. They don't give you a guidebook on it, but I want to talk a little bit about RSVP as we get into this next match. This is a guy who recently had to qualify through a tournament not too dissimilar from this in order to actually be one of the only players to attend the Starbow Invitational, that $1,200 tournament we cast a couple weekends ago, where he struggled through a lot of play to get there. Ended up going up against like Innovation or Young and such. So I wouldn't get him out yet, guys. He might be down 1 at the moment, but it certainly possibly comes back. It's certainly going to be a rough trek, though, as he's down 1 at the moment, but I have some faith. Although, I got to be honest, I have not cast very many mirror matchups in Starbow. A lot of it ends up being, if not TVT, is the only mirror matchup, rarely ZVZ. So if this ends up being a Franscar versus Red Bandit Grand Finals, I wouldn't have too much problem with that. I'm really curious to see how that plays out in Starbow, because as we've seen, this game plays a little bit differently than regular StarCraft. There's certainly other mechanics that really influence the way it gets played out, and of course, the design of some of these units just straight up is weird. But while there are roaches, we haven't seen any use today. I do really like roaches, by the way, in Starbow. I'm going to bring this up now in the hopes that we see them at some point, but they come equipped with tunneling claws. Well, not equipped, I should say. You have to upgrade it. It's called it's not called burrow. I think it's just called tunnel or something, but it's like cloak for a banshee. It's a duration of how long it works. But roaches in this game are insane. They shoot like fire first off instead of acid, and they are really strong. But hold the phone, RSVP. Oh man, adapting old school mechanics here. He's gonna cannon rush behind the mineral line. What? And he's got the second probe here to put more cannons down if he wants. He's not going to, but like, so the probe could be a problem. Anyways, this third pylon is not going to get canceled, so he fully walls himself in here. Now, I don't know if this should be in range of the hatchery. So that should pretty much shut this base down. For Franscar at this point, cancel the hatchery, take your base somewhere else, man. He's already invested way more than your hatchery is going to cost to attack this, but spine crawlers are going to be what goes down, and I don't know if this is what's going to work. If it wasn't for this pylon, the spine crawlers could attack the right side and depower the cannons. But there's a pylon over here, and there's no way he outranges all of this. And why is RSVP donating so much into this? That's... I mean, typically a couple cannons do it. No cancel on that one. No cancel on this one. What is going on right now? 2 spine crawlers. You always forget how good legs are until you watch Starbow. But okay, going for an attack across the map. RSVP, though, is getting a SimCity set up. He's going to probably need to wall this off, I imagine. You see the drone trying to make sure that doesn't happen because there's 4 legs on the way. And this cannon is going to be kind of limited on what it can do. But alright, goes for the wall off, secures this base. He's ready to go. Natural Nexus will probably come down in done too much time. But Queen falls. Spine crawlers are trying to burrow. It's going to be a race against time here. He swapped the focus, though. So Spine crawlers is going to clean this up. Wow, Spine crawlers are like way more effective in Starbow than they are in regular StarCraft. So this was a huge loss for RSVP. Quite frankly, enough that it may cost him the game. I only say this because he's going to lose these pylons on top of this. He invested well over 700 minerals in this attack. I mean, he's fine at home. He's expanding, sure. But this is such a huge setback early on in the game. Like, I can't help but think, like, what if that was like 7 zealots coming in type thing? I don't know it would be happening later, but unfortunately, is just shut down by this. So really well handled by Franscar, I gotta say. Round of applause, Tasha clap, etc. We'll see how this goes as we progress through the rest of this one. But right now, RSVP has got to be thinking, like, what can I do to get back into this? Because simply playing off a natural base will not work. Gosh, that's just such a rough start when you're down in a series like this. It's a risky move, and quite frankly, this tactic is something I much would have preferred to have seen in game number 1 rather than game number 2. Maybe if you're up 1, but... Alright, cleans up the links in the middle of the map. RSVP is going to finish up his natural base here in just a moment's time, and it's worth noting he is ahead on workers, and he's going to be going for this, what I imagine is Sentinels. We recently actually had a nice buff on the scouts. If you guys don't know scouts, they're kind of decent anti-air units in the first place. They're not your go-to because you have Corsairs for that, but they've got a phase missile, which will actually wreck Queens most of the time. Ooh, we're down here towards the south. We do have that quicker third base being taken, but at a more of a, I wouldn't necessarily call this a ninja location, but a further away location. Make sure that RSVP can't find this. I do like that Franscar is actually checking for pylons with these links. Wants to make sure he's not getting cannoned behind the mineral lines. But yeah, this base should go unscattered for a little bit. And with the Sentinels, well, I'm assuming it's Sentinels because it's RSVP. But with Sentinels possibly coming across the map, this could be very dangerous. There we go, will be a Sentinel. Fun fact about the Sentinel, because I see some people talk about unit models in chat a little while ago. A lot of Starbow doesn't have, like, there's no Dragoon models. What they did was they cut off the top half of an Immortal, and Dragoons are just like the Immortal's legs type thing. Same sort of process here for the Sentinel. A very unique unit that's not too dissimilar from the Oracle. It's just been toned down and neutered quite a bit. But the Sentinel is actually the top half of a Robo facility and the bottom half of a Sentry. Zoom in and show you guys. So you guys can see the Sentry sort of on the underside and the top half of the Robo on top. So there's some funny models in this game for sure, but it's still making a couple unique units. Like the Arbiter, for example, is like a backwards Phoenix or something like that. Anyways, this Sentinel's got the potential to do a little bit of harass. It's got a null ward on it, which we'll probably use here in just a sec. This is something RSVP is really well known for, by the way, his Sentinel harass. This is actually something that does win him games a lot, so I don't know if we'll be able to make the most use out of it here, but this is one way to get back in the game. Scourges are coming out right away, though, so this is going to be hard to deal with. Now, as we see, this is an attack that is more like a Sentry than it is anything else, not just in graphics, but also in damage per second. The Null Ward is an ability where you set down this one sort of, I guess you can call it almost like a mine. There we go. That will detonate on units. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but the key thing about it is it slows. So as we see, it does a lot of damage. That's splash damage too, by the way. But more importantly than that, it slows units in the huge area around it. We actually have Stalkers coming out of Franscar. Or not Franscar, RSVP. Hold the phone. So Stalkers have been kind of, I don't want to say removed from the game, but essentially removed from the game because they've been nerfed. I mean, the Starbow, the game itself classifies them as a support unit, or at least it did for a while. They don't have the damage that they used to. As we see, it's 8, and it's not ×2, it's just 8. It's really not a lot of damage. They can still blink. They've got it innately, so they'll have the mobility to keep up with the Mutalist, I guess, was his logic on it, but, I mean, Stalkers are not... You're not going to see a Blink Stalker all in on Starbow anytime soon, is basically the point I'm trying to make. A couple cannons going to come down. There's a Null Ward over here, but it's... there we go. Going to detonate on the Scourges. Null Wards are so effective. Again, it's not so much about the damage they deal, but it's more about the slow that they provide. It allows units to catch everything so much easier. Like, let's say you've got a swarm of Banelings or Zerglings coming at you. Guess what? If they're moving at 10% movement speed, it doesn't matter what you have to defend, because you can actually get away from that. But we got some, I'm really excited to see how the Stalkers get used. The freaking Blink Stalkers are just not something that get utilized. They just really aren't. I've not seen anyone win a game with Blink Stalkers, but if one person was going to make it happen, it would certainly be RSVP. And I'm excited to see if he can pull it off. Again, more Null Wards being placed around the map. They don't last indefinitely, but they do have a pretty long time around them, so this will be up here to defend for a little while. It's kind of like a point defense drone in that regard. But it looks like there's a fire cooking on top of this hatchery. That's actually just the way Inject looks now. Again, if you missed my first game where I was teaching everybody Starbow, Inject mechanic has been changed a little bit in Starbow. And that's the awesome graphic associated with it. I'm going to try and pick away some of these units. As we see, it's just, they really don't do a lot of damage, guys. Blink is cool, but damage is limited. Link's trying to get on top of this. There is an Archon coming in, and an Archon's going to be good one way or another. Zealot's trying to run away from this. Stalker's still giving chase. Like, only in Starbow will you watch a Stalker attack an Overseer so many times and it not die. But again, mobility's the one thing they have going for them above anything else. Trying to chase the Mutalist away, but I kind of feel like RSVP has kind of got a very flimsy looking army here. It's not the most scary thing in the world. He is securing a third behind this. Or rather trying to. Here come the Mutalist to have something to say about that. Yeah, probe goes down. But we have Mutalisk weapons being upgraded and invested into. We got Carapace coming out for the ground units. A lot of what I think Franscar is going to try and do is get that overwhelmingly stupid amount of Mutalisks and try and bully his way into... ooh, nice little null ward does go off on these Mutalisks. Look how slow that makes them, guys. Can you imagine? Like, I don't care about anything else in Starbow transferring over to StarCraft 2, but I wish a null ward would. Whether it's Protoss, whether it's Terran, whoever gets it, it'd be so much more fun to watch Mutalisks get slowly chased down. Big Ling attack is going to force this Nexus to get canceled. This totally sucks. He needs this Nexus. He needs this third base. But one thing I'm curious about is why we don't see any investments in Corsairs while this is going on. For those who don't know how Corsairs work, they're a light air unit. Well, I shouldn't say light air unit, but a small, cheap air unit that comes out of a Nexus. It deals splash damage, and it attacks faster than like any other unit in the game. Well, except for Banelings, because Banelings for some reason have like a 0.2 attack speed. But Corsairs, they only hit for like 5, but again, it's splash damage in a fairly large radius, so Mutalisks get annihilated by them. Archon Blasts also do a ton of splash too, let's not forget. Oh, Mutalisks almost do get caught by this. Stalker's still giving chase. Oh, as we see that Archon just annihilates a huge chunk of Mutalisks with one nice blast. That being said, RSVP did manage to actually get this base up. I was really scared that it was going to die or he'd forced to cancel it, but he's going to need cannons to protect this, and I don't mean like 1 or 2, I mean several cannons, because there's going to be Mutalisks roaming, there's going to be Zergling run-bys, and we have a Greater Spire coming out of Franscar? I have not seen a Greater Spire. Like, again, I haven't really seen much Guardian usage. There's like one game on like Texas, I think a long time ago, and that was about it. But this will be interesting. Nurturing Swarms helping it build a little bit quicker. Mutalisks coming towards the main, though. There's not much here to defend, sadly. All the Stalkers are in the middle of the map or just leaving. So it pulls back to defend against this. And again, another scenario where whether it's null wards or whether it's Corsairs, you really just need something, some element X involved with this. Alright, Stalkers get a good blink forward, aggressive like this. But yeah, Mutalisks transform. There's no Corruptors in this, guys. Mutalisks will transform into either Guardians or Devourers. I've actually never seen a Devourer, period, but Guardians have really long range. If you've never played Brood War, you probably don't remember them. Well, you wouldn't remember them, but the key thing about them was they had this massive range. They're really slow like Brood Lords, but the Guardians are more like Tempests, where they attack a single target and they attack from super far away. And as we're looking to wrap around here, there's an Archon combined with these cannons, might buy him a little bit of extra, but as we saw earlier, cannons go down so quick, but nope, never mind, here come the Guardians. Roof, roof. 9 on the way. This is gonna be a real pain to deal with because they've got massive range, and again, there's been no air investments from Franscar, or sorry, from RSVP this whole game. Like, no Corsairs, no Scouts, nothing to help deal with this. So, Guardians are certainly gonna make quick work of this base. These air lobsters, as it were. RSVP is going for a counterattack while this is going on. We're just kind of ignore that for the time being. This is actually not something that Franscar can defend against. There's too many Blink Stalkers, there's too many Zealots. This base will fall, and if his army was here, if the Guardians were here, for example, he could easily hold against this. But unfortunately, not going to be the case. This Nexus is going to go down. So these green balls splitting, no good. Sons of guns. But they can't shoot up, guys. They're limited to shooting ground only. So one Scout coming out might just be what he needs to defend himself here. Still Stalkers on this side of the map, but again, I've never seen anyone use Blink Stalkers in Starbow to such extent because they've been neutered so hard, but he's finding a way. Although workers are down like crazy, the nice thing for RSVP is Franscar is not microing at all, so we see the Guardians all focus firing on the wrong units. Taking out this pylon though, oh, that's going to shut down the gateway. Or not the gateway, the Stargate. And this one Scout, this one lonely Scout, is going to do what it can, but the Mutalisk will wipe it out. Coming back home with all of his units to defend with. We got Blink Stalkers en masse. We got Zealots charging forward. We got a Nexus being taken over here on Franscar's side of the map. But what has turned into somewhat of a base trade. I hate saying that, but that's kind of what RSVP is trying to do. He's trading out his own bases to take some of Franscar's. Franscar doesn't have a lot to defend with. He's got like 100 spine crawlers here, but that doesn't matter because he can never push out with spine crawlers. The Guardians were a cool move, but as we see, they're even being dealt with a little bit here. Stalkers don't do a ton of damage and actually being forced to retreat fully out of this, but you know, it was the threat of the Mutalisks that really made this scary. It wasn't the Guardians themselves. It was having like 9 Mutalisks behind this to sort of maneuver around, but as we see, down to 5, barely that. Might even lose another one. Oh, almost lose another one. This game is so far in our, like, this is so heavily in the favor of RSVP, I really literally don't know what he can do to throw this. Like, with Blink Stalker, somehow, some way, he's making this work. Because this isn't StarCraft 2 Blink Stalkers, guys. This is like terrible Starbow Blink Stalker, but blinks forward beyond this, gets on top of the Guardians right away. Zealot's gonna have no problem tearing through these spine crawlers, and he just needs to focus fire down these Guardians. He's losing a lot of these Stalkers though. These are his anti-air. Last couple Guardians are standing for Franscar. If he can hold on to these Guardians, he stays in this game. But to what avail? Because he's got no follow-up. Doesn't even matter though. Last Guardian goes down. Now it's Archons and Zealots versus what is one spine crawler remaining. Ladies and gentlemen, RSVP has just tied up this series now 1-1. Oh man, Scourge is even going off. Guardians are going to try and base trade, but it's because Franscar doesn't know about this base. He might think he can go for a full-on base trade, but I know, and you know, and we know that that's not the case. And again, if you didn't know what I was talking about earlier, Dragoons are literally the bottom half of an Immortal. Hive falls. There's no Broodlings to worry about because it's Starbow, of course. I don't really know what to say at this point. Again, I think Franscar thinks that there's no other base, so in assuming this, he's just going to try and base trade it out, but there's a base down here, there's a base over here. All it's going to take is, well actually, you know, hold up. His Guardians aren't going to have an answer anytime soon. He did lose a lot of Blink Stalkers on the other side of the map. And we still got some, don't get me wrong, but it's not a lot. So I understand why Franscar hasn't left this game. He really thinks he's in this in a much bigger way than he actually is. That being said, RSVP's got a bank of like 2k minerals. He can throw down like 9 gateways if he needs to. There's no ground support to this. He's got the Scourges, and he probably thinks like, okay, well the only thing my opponent could do at this point is make like a Scout, make like a Corsair, but I'll kill it with my Scourges and it won't be a problem. But there we go. Good game is called, and RSVP will even it up 1-1 and take us to game number 3. To match point and see just who will go to the finals to fight against Red Bandits.